Black Velvet 3. Copyright October 15th, 2008. After Colonel Fitzhugh Black launched the Upper Canadian space capsule in a spot near the Houghton Sandhills, scientists around the world flocked to the tiny pioneer village to see if they could sneak a glimpse of the interior of this mechanically advanced cannonball of space. However, the British regulars and the colonial militia troops that Sir John A. Macdonald had employed to keep the spaceship's secrets from hostile prying American eyes and robber barons, nothing would worried Upper Canada's family compact more than the possibility that their old War of 1812 enemies, such as Jacob Astor and Levi Strauss, would ravage Canada's fledgling space industry just like they burnt Dover Mills and like they kneecapped Miss Molly's cow half a century earlier. As Talbot, Ryerson, and Burwell gathered in a country road rooming house, sipping on their sherries, they discussed the possibilities of bankrolling a return to space for Colonel Black and his spaceship. They, however, needed an incentive to encourage other rich folk to subscribe to the enterprise. After the space launch of 1864, the shockwave of the explosion that had propelled the 100-ton craft and her crew of 27 men and 6 women cosmonauts into space had seriously damaged the Hemlock gun and the bedrock it was anchored in. The necessary repairs would have drained the resources of a small nation such as Upper Canada. Yet if the eccentric Black was not encouraged to try another shot at space from Upper Canadian soil in the space colony port, the Americans might entice him back to the country he'd turned his back on a decade and a half earlier with an offer he would not refuse: the bankrolling of an energetic American space initiative. The Canadian syndicate did have one advantage over the Americans, however. The Black Velvet space capsule and the Hemlock gun could feasibly be brought back into firing condition and exploration, or a condition a half-decade before the earliest American test shots would be able to proceed. They thought it might be possible to get the Hemlock gun ready within a year. So it was on a sunny August day in 1866 that the members of the family compact mused on a goal for a second Upper Canadian space exploratory voyage, one of 6 months minimum, the incentive they could offer to potential backers and Black himself, and a strong driving leader of men who could mobilize the resources of the Upper Canadian nation to get the Hemlock gun refitted and fired within a year. just in time for the spaceship to make a rendezvous with Halley's Comet, which was expected to pass a distance, quite a distance away from Earth. It was within voyaging distance of the Black Velvet spaceship, which they expected to pass by the solar system in sometime September or October of the year of our Lord 1867. Women leaders, I say. Well, as we all know, when Lincoln appointed Burnside to lead the combined army of the Potomac and Mystic Plymouth armies, and President Davis anointed Dudley Peabody supreme chieftain of the American Confederate forces in the American Civil War, the war between the states that had just ended with a month or two before in 1866. It took a turn in the worse. The estimates of casualties and dead kept rising by leaps and bounds as Peabody and Burnside committed their troops to an endless, pointless war, so that by 1863 the two warring nations had more undertakers and gravediggers than farmhands and cowboys. Under these dreary conditions, it was no wonder that Upper Canada's booming space program could boom, since the competition in the States had committed Harry Carey on its with its Napoleonic cannons blasting away and battlefields of blood. One night, President Davis, hearing about the stunning advances and bustling social activities in Cultus Creek, spaceport capital of the world, went on a all-night drinking binge, during which he reportedly shouted, "Is not even a Cultus Creek hooker better than Dudley Peabody?" So, the family compact wondered whether a Cultus Creek hooker should be the one to mobilize the troops and rebuild the Black Velvet cannon.